Chan Minjun died on Friday. He didn't know it was Friday. Days had long stopped being different from each other. The windows were covered with thick paper 3 years ago. He oriented himself by food delivery. If a courier came, it was day; if quiet, it was night, or he simply hadn't ordered. 34 years old. Never married, never really tried. Remote work. Technical server support for a small company that didn't care where their specialist was physically located as long as the servers didn't go down. The servers didn't go down. Chan Minjun didn't go out. Everyone was fine with it. An apartment of 37 square meters in Incheon. Books along the walls. Many. Real, paper ones. Mostly science fiction. Fantasy. Stories about people who end up in other worlds and mean something there. He read them methodically, one after another, and never thought of it as escapism. He just liked how everything was arranged there. Clearly, logically. There are rules. There is meaning. He died from what he had been warning himself about for the last 6 months. Physical inactivity, poor nutrition, 20 hours in front of a monitor every day. His heart simply got tired. No drama. He was sitting in an armchair, reading something, fell asleep. Didn't wake up. Found 2 weeks later, a courier noticed that the orders had stopped coming in. His last thought? He didn't finish the book. 3 chapters remained. The darkness was quiet. Chan Minjun in the darkness felt that he had no hands, then no legs. Then he realized he had no body in the usual sense at all. There was something else. A presence in space, a sense of ground beneath him and air around him. Without sense organs in the human sense. And still, something was being perceived. Then a voice, or not a voice, information that simply appeared. System of the Forest Druid initialized. Carrier. Recluse. Long solitude. Observation without participation. Compatibility. Perfect. Current form. Common mushroom. Cap diameter 7 centimeters. Species. Non-toxic. Rank 0. A pause. Evolution. Path. From the simplest organism to the supreme forest druid. Final form, classified. System feature, evolution proceeds through the destruction of enemies. The more, the faster the progress. But the druid system is not a killing system. The druid protects the forest. Those who threaten the forest are enemies. Those who do not threaten it are allies. The carrier knew how to observe. This is the main skill. Use it. Good luck, Chan Minjun. A mushroom, thought Chan Minjun. I am a mushroom. Fine. Could have been worse. The first thing he understood. He feels the earth. Not as a human feels it underfoot, as part of it. The mushroom's roots, the mycelium, went down and sideways, penetrating the soil with thin threads. Information came through them. Humidity, temperature, chemical composition, movement. Someone walked a meter away. The mycelium felt the vibration. Rain dripped far away. The soil changed humidity in a gradient. This is not sight, thought Chan Minjun. This is better than sight. This is data directly, without interpretation. The second, he could not move. At all. The mushroom grew in place. The mycelium expanded slowly, over hours by millimeters, but he himself, nowhere. Fine. This is a problem to be solved. Later. First, understand where I am. The forest is large, old. The trees around, through mycelial perception, root systems thick, deep. Some trees are several hundred years old. The soil is rich, dark, alive. Something was teeming in it that Chan Minjun didn't even recognize at first as life. Billions of microorganisms, larvae, worms, everything moving, everything working. The forest is alive, he realized. Not a metaphor. Literally alive as a single organism. And I am part of this organism now. The system gave the first interface. Carrier status. Form. Common mushroom. Rank 0. Mycelium. Radius 30 centimeters. Skills. Soil perception. Passive evolution. Progress. 0/100. Until first evolution. Destroy 10 enemies of the forest. 10 enemies, read Chan Minjun. I am a motionless mushroom 7 centimeters in diameter. How do I destroy 10 of anything? Good question. Need to think. The answer came on the third day. The mycelium grew slowly but constantly. By the third day, the radius was already 40 centimeters. Chan Minjun felt through it everything in more detail, farther and farther, and he felt something 20 centimeters away. A larva. Not a simple one. The system marked it in red. Woodbreaker larva. Enemy of the forest. A parasite that feeds on tree roots from inside, kills the tree slowly over several seasons. Rank F. Progress upon destruction. 5/100ths. A root parasite, thought Chan Minjun. Lives in the soil. Mycelium is also in the soil. Distance, 20 centimeters. What can mycelium do besides perception? The system answered. Mycelial network skill. The carrier can direct mycelium growth actively. Slowly, requires time. Upon contact of mycelium with an organic object, chemical substances can be released. The type of substances depends on understood principles. Chemical substances, he repeated. Fungi release enzymes for digestion, toxins for protection, antibiotics. Penicillin is a fungal product. If I direct the mycelium toward the larva and release something toxic to it. But I don't know what is toxic to the woodbreaker larva. But I know general biochemistry. The larva is an insect. Insects have a chitin shell. Chitin is broken down by chitinase, an enzyme produced by some fungi. Do I have chitinase? Theoretically, the system said, the type of substances depends on understood principles. The principle, I understand. He concentrated. Pulled the mycelium slowly, directionally. 20 centimeters is a very long way when you are a mushroom. 3 hours. Contact. He released, not randomly, deliberately, initiated chitinase synthesis through the understanding of what it should be. The larva. At first, nothing. Then the movement became uneven. An hour later, it stopped. System. Enemy of the forest destroyed. Progress. 10 out of 100 plus 5. 10 out of 100, noted Chan Minjun. One larva gives 5. So in total, 20 rank 1 creatures are needed. Or fewer, but stronger ones. Clear math. Let's work. By the end of the second week, the mycelium had grown to a 3-meter radius. Chan Minjun was beginning to understand that being a mushroom was not as limiting as it seemed. The mycelium was a network. A huge, branching, sensing network. Every node. Information. Together, a map of everything happening in the soil 3 meters around. Woodbreaker larvae were found, 4 more, destroyed by the same method, chitinase through direct mycelial contact. Then the system showed something new. A small beetle, dark, shiny, was crawling across the soil surface above the mycelium. The system indicated rot beetle, rank F, enemy of the forest, carrier of fungal rot to healthy trees, enemy of the forest, a beetle on the surface, mycelium underground, no direct contact, need to bring the mycelium to the surface, or another way. Fungi release substances into the soil that penetrate tree roots. If something is released into the soil directly under the beetle, it will rise to the surface through the capillary movement of groundwater, slowly. But it works if the substance is volatile. He tried synthesizing a volatile toxin through the mycelium, directed it into the soil directly under the beetle. 40 minutes of waiting. The beetle stopped, flipped over. System. Enemy of the forest destroyed. Progress. 25/100. 25, noted Chan Minjun. The beetle gives more. Rank F, but an active spreader of infection. The system evaluates the threat not only by rank. The system confirmed. Progress is calculated by threat to the forest, not by the creature's strength. A parasite that kills 1 tree per season, fewer points. A carrier that infects 20 trees, more. The carrier understood the principle. So, look not for strong enemies, but for those most dangerous to the forest, those who pose the greatest threat. That is a different strategy, not one of force. Analytical. Exactly mine. The 100th point came on the 23rd day. The last enemy, a termite colony that was beginning to build a nest in the roots of an old tree. Not one termite, the entire colony as a single enemy. The system rated it highly, plus 31 to progress. Chan Minjun directed the mycelium not toward one, but toward the entire colony. A branching attack. Each mycelium branched toward a different node of the nest. Synthesis simultaneously, not chitinase. For termites, a neurotoxin worked better, one that imitated their alarm pheromone. Panic inside the colony. They destroyed their own queen. System, 100 over 100. First evolution unlocked. The transformation was strange. Not painful. A mushroom doesn't feel pain in the human sense. Everything just changed, quickly. First evolution, mind mushroom. Rank F+. Changes. Cap. Diameter 15 centimeters. A weak bioluminescent layer appeared. Glows blue in the dark. Mycelium. Active growth radius 10 meters. Growth speed 5 times higher. Skill unlocked. Spore burst. A directed burst of spores up to 2 meters. The spores contain synthesized substances. Skill unlocked. Chemical synthesis expanded. The carrier can synthesize more complex compounds. Limitation. Only those principles which are understood. Skill unlocked. Voice of the mycelium. The carrier can transmit simple sensations to other fungi and plants through the mycelial network. Radius, 10 meters. Next evolution. 0 over 300. Destroy enemies or fulfill the system's condition. Voice of the mycelium. Chan Minjun paused. Transmit sensations to plants. This is communication. I can talk to the forest. This is not an attack skill. This is an information network. With an information network, a lot can be done. He tried, directed through the mycelium toward the nearest tree, whose roots passed close by. A simple sensation, moisture, warmth. The tree responded, not with words. Chemically, through the roots into the soil went a wave of signaling molecules. Something like, "Yes, I hear you." The forest talks, realized Chan Minjun. Constantly. People just don't hear it. And I am now part of the conversation. Mycelium at 10 meters. That is a different scale of perception. Chan Minjun lay in the ground and perceived the forest as a huge living map. Tree roots intersected with his mycelium. Every connection gave information. A neighboring tree reported chemically. 20 meters from me, yesterday someone cut a branch. A tree farther away, my bark is damaged, something is gnawing it. The forest is the internet, thought Chan Minjun. Trees are nodes, mycelium, cables. Information flows constantly, and I am a new node in this network. 3 days after the first evolution, the first major signal came. Not from below, from above. Not through the mycelium, through the spore burst in reverse. The spores returned with information chemically sealed in them. Trees released signaling molecules under stress. The stress was large, 100 meters away, many trees at once. System. Detected. Logging party. 8 people. Rank. Not combat, but threat to the forest is high. Progress upon destruction, plus 120. People. Chan Minjun stopped. Loggers. They are enemies of the forest by the system. They cut down trees. A threat. But they are people. Just working. That is not the same as parasites. He thought for a long time. The system said, the Druid protects the forest. Those who threaten are enemies. But the system also said that I determine who is an enemy. Woodbreaker larvae kill trees, no doubt. Rot beetles spread disease, no doubt. People who cut down the forest. They don't know they are doing something forbidden. They have no ill intent. They are working. This is different. He checked again through the mycelial network what exactly was happening there. The trees reported, they are cutting old sick ones. Selecting specific ones, not everything in a row. Leaving the young ones. This is selective logging, not destruction. They know what they are doing, realized Chan Minjun. This is not barbaric logging. This is forest management. System. Clarification. The loggers are not a critical threat to the forest in this case. Progress for destruction recalculated. 0. The carrier correctly assessed the situation. The Druid system does not kill those who do not deserve it. 0 progress, noted Chan Minjin. The system confirmed. This is important. I am not a killing machine, I am a protector. The difference is fundamental. The real enemy came a week later. The mycelium by that time had reached 15 meters, not the limit, just the growth rate in this soil. Chan Minjin could already feel the edge of the clearing to the north, the beginning of the swamp to the east, the path along which people sometimes walked to the west. Something bad came from the north. Not through the trees. They were silent. Through the soil directly. A chemical signal Chan Minjun had not encountered before. Sharp, dark, alien. Not natural. System. Detected. Desecrated boar. Rank D. A living creature infected with magical necrosis. Slowly dying, in agony destroying everything around it. The chemical trace of desecration poisons the soil 3 meters around it. Every hour without destruction, the damage to the forest area increases. Progress upon destruction, plus 80. A desecrated creature, read Chan Minjin. Magical necrosis. In this world, there is magic. The boar in agony, chemically destroying the soil. If it walks through the forest, the trail of desecration will spread. It must be stopped. But rank D, that is significantly higher than the rank F larvae. For it, my neurotoxins may not work. A different approach is needed. The boar moved slowly, chaotically. Through soil vibrations, Chan Minjin tracked the trajectory. 40 meters, far from mycelium. But now he had the spore burst. Range, 2 meters. Can't reach with a direct attack. But the voice of the mycelium. Trees. Trees have roots that reach everywhere in this forest. If a signal is sent through the trees, they will release chemical markers on the surface of roots in the place where the boar is walking. I can't reach it, but the trees reach the entire forest. Can I, through the voice of the mycelium, ask the trees to become conductors of my synthesized substance? The system answered. The voice of the mycelium skill can be expanded through understanding the principle of symbiosis. The carrier understands the principle. Attempt permitted. Chan Minjun built this slowly, like a complex multi-layered system. Connected with the nearest tree through the mycelium, sent not just a sensation, a structural signal, a molecular instruction. In your roots, this. Release this where the boar is. The tree processed it. For a long time, 5 minutes. Then, through the root network, to another tree, to a third. The chain went toward the place where the boar was wandering. The synthesized substance, not a neurotoxin for insects. For a desecrated boar, something different was needed. Magical necrosis is foreign chemistry in the body of an animal. If an antagonist is created, a compound that binds the molecules of desecration and neutralizes them. I don't know the structure of magical necrosis, Chan Minjin assessed honestly. This is not earthly biochemistry. This is magic. System. The carrier has no knowledge of magical necrosis. Direct neutralization is insufficient. Alternative. Attack not the necrosis, but the biological basis of the boar. Weaken the body enough so that it stops serving as a carrier of desecration. Desecration without a carrier disperses within several hours. Kill the boar to free it from desecration, understood Chan Minjun. This is not cruelty. This is mercy. It is in agony. Death will end the suffering and remove the threat to the forest. He changed the composition, directed a neurotoxin of sufficient concentration toward the boar through the trees. For a rank D creature, more time and precision were required. 30 minutes. The boar fell. The agony ended. The soil began to slowly recover. The desecration dispersed without a carrier, as the system had said. System. Desecrated boar destroyed. Progress. 80 over 300. Additional bonus, plus 20 for ranged attack through symbiotic network. Total. 100 over 300. New skill unlocked. Symbiotic network. The carrier can use the root systems of trees within the mycelium radius as an extension of their own mycelium for the transfer of chemical substances. Range is limited by the size of the root system of allied trees. Allied trees, noted Chan Minjin. The system says allied. Trees are allies, not tools. An important distinction. A person found him by accident, a girl of about 10, judging by the light weight of the steps that the mycelium felt. Running through the forest, not along the path, straight through the undergrowth. Behind her, an adult, heavy steps, caught up within a minute. Chan Minjun perceived them chemically: smell of sweat, fear from the girl, anger from the adult. Then they stopped right next to him. The girl crouched down. "Look," she said, a voice close by right above the cap. "Look, it glows." The adult male, rough voice, grumbled something. Steps moved away a little. The girl stayed. Fingers touched the edge of the cap carefully, not breaking, just touching. System. Contact with a living creature, not hostile. The symbiotic network skill can be applied to creatures other than plants, at the carrier's will and with the consent of the contacting creature. Attempt at the carrier's will. Can I send her something through touch? System. Simple chemical signals. Yes. Not words. Sensations. What to send? She is not an enemy. She is a child who found a glowing mushroom and decided to touch it. This is curiosity. Good curiosity. Send calm, safety. This place is a good place. He directed through the point of contact a simple sensation. Warmth, calm, something like, "Everything is good here." The girl froze for a second, then exhaled. "Papa," she said quietly, "it's warm. The mushroom is warm." The man grumbled again, came over, crouched down beside her. "Don't touch unfamiliar mushrooms, Ayla," he said. "Some are poisonous." "It's not poisonous," said the girl with confidence. "I can feel it." She felt it, noted Chan Minjin. "My sensation got through." She perceives chemical signals intuitively. She has a gift, or simply sensitivity. The man pulled her by the hand, led her away. The voices receded. Chan Minjin remained. Ayla, he memorized the name, the girl who felt that the mushroom was warm. In this world, there are people who feel what others do not feel. This is important to know. 300 points came over a month. Not quickly, methodically. Larvae, beetles, small parasites. 2 more desecrated animals. A mouse and a fox, both through the symbiotic network. A swarm of insects that laid eggs in sick trees and accelerated their death. A targeted neurochemical attack through the soil. The largest single progress, plus 95, was given by the parasitic poison ivy. Not an animal, a plant, but a plant that killed trees by wrapping around them and cutting off root nutrition. The system classified it as an enemy of the forest. Chan Minjun spent a long time dealing with it. It was impossible to simply poison it. The ivy roots were intertwined with the roots of the trees he was protecting. He found the solution through a selective herbicide, a compound toxic to the ivy and neutral to the host tree. 3 days of developing the formula. It worked perfectly. 300 over 300. Second evolution unlocked. System. Second evolution. Thinking mushroom. Rank E. Changes. Cap. Diameter 25 centimeters. Bioluminescence. Controllable. Several modes. Under the cap, spore chambers with the ability of directed burst up to 5 meters. Mycelium. Radius 50 meters. Growth speed 10 times higher than base. Skill unlocked. Fungal. Whisper. The carrier can transmit complex images through the mycelial network to creatures with which contact has been established. Not words. Images and sensations. Skill unlocked. Spore cloud. Release of a dense cloud of spores up to 5 meters contains synthesized substances in concentrated form. Skill unlocked. Forest memory. The carrier gains access to the chemical memory of old trees within the mycelium radius. Trees remember what happened to them in chemical signals. An old tree equals a multi-year archive of forest events. Key change. The carrier is no longer limited to one location. Through the developed mycelium, the carrier can transfer the center of consciousness through the network, perceive the forest from any point where there is mycelium. Transfer the center of consciousness. Chan Minjun paused. I am not bound to a single cap. I am a network. All the mycelium is me. I can perceive from any point. This is not just a mushroom. This is an organism 50 meters in radius. And the forest memory. Trees remember? What do the old trees in this forest remember? He reached toward the oldest tree he could feel. A huge oak. The mycelium reached its roots at the edge of the new zone. The tree responded. Not instantly. Slowly, like a huge computer loading old files. The images are chemical, not visual, but Chan Minjin had learned to read them. What came? 120 years ago, a man in a green cloak sat by the roots for a long time, did something with the earth after him. Different, warmer, more alive. 70 years ago, fire, a large one. The tree burned on one side, survived, but remembers. 3 years ago, something dark passed through the forest, didn't stop, went north. The earth where it passed. Nothing grew for a long time. The man in the green cloak, noted Chan Minjin, 120 years ago, did something with the earth. The earth became warmer, a druid. In this world, there were druids, and the trace of one of them, in the memory of this tree. System. Forest memory has detected the trace of a previous forest druid. Information is partially classified. Available as the carrier develops. Classified, understood Chan Minjun. So there is something important that I will learn later. Fine. Later it is then. Right now. 50 meters of living forest under my perception. 3 new skills. A consciousness that can be transferred. And somewhere 3 kilometers to the west, a village. The mycelium doesn't reach, but the trees transmit a faint chemical hum of a human settlement. There are people there. There is the girl Ayla who felt the warmth. Interesting. The darkness that passed 3 years ago had returned. Chan Minjun felt it through the mycelium on Monday at dawn. Not directly, through the chemical panic of the trees. Signaling molecules came in a wave from the north. Something bad. Go away. The earth is dying. The trees couldn't go away, but the signal spread. System. Detected. Zone of desecration moving from the north. Source. Desecrated forest spirit, rank B, actively killing the forest. Trees, animals, soil. Speed of movement. Slow but constant. Distance to the carrier's current position, 200 meters. Progress upon destruction, plus 300. Rank B, read Chan Minjin. That is significantly higher than anything I have encountered. A desecrated forest spirit. Not an animal, a spirit. That means different biology, or the absence of biology. My neurotoxins and enzymes are designed for biological objects. On a spirit they may not work. Need to think differently. He reached through the mycelium toward the north, carefully, without active emissions. Just perception. He felt it. The zone of desecration. In it, the mycelium was dying. Literally. The threads entered the zone and stopped responding. The boundary was clear. Inside, empty. No root vibrations, no chemical signals. Dead earth. The spirit of desecration destroys life in the soil directly. Not through biological impact, through something else. Through magic. I don't know how to work with magic directly. Or do I? I create chemical compounds through understanding principles. What is magical desecration at the molecular level? In this world, magic is a real physical force. It must interact with matter in a specific way. Task. Understand how desecration interacts with living tissue, then create something that blocks this interaction. System. The carrier correctly identified the task. Hint. Desecration works through specific receptors in living cells that react to magical death energy. Blocking the receptors is theoretically possible, but requires an understanding that the carrier does not yet fully possess. Alternative path. The desecrated spirit is weakened if severed from its power source. The power source is the dead earth it creates around itself. If the expansion of the dead earth zone is stopped, the spirit weakens. Stop the expansion of the zone, thought Chan Minjin. How? The boundary of the zone is where living soil dies. What if the living soil is made unusable to it? Not kill it, make it unsuitable for use as fuel? Hyperactive life. If there is so much life in the soil that the rate of life processes exceeds the rate of killing, the spirit cannot feed on it efficiently enough. This is like pouring not water on a fire, but gasoline, but controlled. Such a concentration of life that the desecration suffocates in it. Chan Minjun began working quickly by his scale. Through the symbiotic network, he sent a signal to all trees within the mycelium radius. Chemical instruction. Accelerate life processes. Maximum metabolism. Now. The trees responded. The soil within the mycelium radius began to saturate with life. Accelerated bacterial division, activation of dormant seeds, intensification of root metabolism. The boundary of the desecration zone slowed down. Didn't stop, slowed down. The spirit was still advancing. Not enough. I need more life than I can create on my own. Mycelium, 50 meters. The spirit is moving from the direction where there is no mycelium. Need to grow toward it. Fast. Active growth. Maximum speed. He directed the mycelium north. All resources into growth. The threads stretched through the soil, fast for a mushroom, still slow by the standards of the approaching threat. 150 meters from him, the boundary of the zone. 140. 130. I won't make it in time. System. Carrier in critical situation. Temporary enhancement available. Accelerated mycelium growth at the cost of the carrier's own resources. Risk. Carrier exhaustion. Approve. Exhaustion of the mushroom, thought Chan Minjun. What does that mean in practice? That the cap will shrink? That the mycelium in other directions will weaken? Doesn't matter. The forest matters more. Approve. Approved. Accelerated growth activated. The mycelium surged forward. Not slow growth, almost like movement. The threads stretched through the soil. Chan Minjun felt the resources draining. The cap indeed began to shrink. A centimeter, 2. Doesn't matter. The mycelium reached the boundary of the desecration zone and stopped there. Came into contact with the dead earth. The boundary felt like a wall. Cold, empty, anti-life. There you are, thought Chan Minjun. Now let's see what you were at the chemical level. Through the point of contact, analysis. Slow, careful. What is desecration chemically? It came slowly, in parts. Desecration is not a poison. It is a blocker. Compounds that bind to life molecules in the soil, enzymes, nucleotides, signaling molecules, and render them inactive. Not destroying, switching off. Living tissue doesn't die immediately. It stops living. A blocker, understood Chan Minjun. This I understand. Enzyme blockers, competitive inhibitors. They are neutralized in two ways, either by competing molecules that fill the same receptor without harm, or by enzymes that destroy the inhibitor itself. The second way is faster. I need an enzyme that destroys the molecules of desecration. But these are magical molecules. I don't know their exact structure. I know it in general terms. I know what they do. That is enough for a first rough version. The synthesis, the most complex one in all this time. Chan Minjun worked at maximum concentration, not through the symbiotic network, directly from his own mycelium. The mycelium at the point of contact with the zone worked like a chemical laboratory. 20 minutes. He released the first version, pumped it into the dead soil right at the boundary. The boundary shuddered. The dead earth at the very edge began to weakly come back to life. Not fully, partially. The blocker was neutralized. Not all of it, roughly a third. A third, not enough for complete neutralization, but enough to partially revive the soil at the edge. The spirit fed on dead soil. If the soil at the edge partially comes back to life, the spirit receives less nourishment. The boundary of the zone stopped. Not for long, the spirit pushed. A minute later it moved again. Chan Minjun intensified production. More enzyme, faster, more concentrated. The cap shrank another 4 centimeters lost. Doesn't matter, it will grow back. The boundary stopped again, this time for longer. From inside the zone, something changed. A chemical signal. Not desecration. Something different. Something resembling displeasure or disorientation. A spirit accustomed to moving and killing had encountered resistance it did not expect. It doesn't understand me, Chan Minjun realized. The spirit was accustomed to a forest that dies from its presence. But here, something is blocking its effect. This is incomprehensible to it. Use that. Signal through the symbiotic network to all trees, to all living soil within radius. Now. Maximum. Everything there is. The forest responded. A flash of life. Concentrated. Directed. The boundary of the desecration zone began to slowly, centimeter by centimeter, retreat. The spirit inside, Chan Minjun felt through chemical signals how something large was thrashing in the dead zone that was no longer growing. No nourishment. The zone isn't expanding. On the contrary, shrinking. 30 minutes of pressure. The desecration zone shrank to 15 meters in diameter. Then to 10. From inside, the spirit threw something directly. Not chemically, physically. The soil heaved. A tree at the edge of the zone fell. The vibration reached the mycelium like a blow. A physical attack, noted Chan Minjun. It can attack physically, directly. I cannot dodge. I am a mushroom, but it strikes at the earth, at the soil, at the mycelium. The blow came. Mycelium threads at the point were destroyed. Not all. 10% in the northern direction. It will recover, but the pressure weakened. It attacks the mycelium. That means it senses it as a threat. That means my approach is working and it knows it. Good. Keep going. Chan Minjun redistributed the mycelium. Not a single stream from the north, but branching. Many thin threads from different sides. Harder to destroy with a single blow. 20 more minutes. The zone. 5 meters. 3 meters. 1. And silence. System. Desecrated forest spirit destroyed. Progress. Plus 300. Additional bonus. Plus 150 for innovative method. Application of a chemical antagonist of desecration. Recorded in the system for the first time. Total, plus 450. Total progress toward third evolution, 450 over 700. Chan Minjun perceived the forest after the battle. The desecration zone was dispersing. The dead earth where it had been was slowly coming back to life. Bacteria first. Then seeds stirred. In a month there would be living forest here again. The cap had shrunk to 11 centimeters. Resource loss. Significant. But the mycelium held. I won, thought Chan Minjun. Not through strength. Through chemistry and logic. A mushroom defeated a rank B forest spirit. That is good. System. Forest memory updated. The trees have remembered this event. Message from the old oak. The only one who holds the memory of the previous druid. The one who came before you also won not through strength. He used to say, the forest is smarter than any enemy. You only need to ask it how to win. The one who came before me, read Chan Minjun, used to say, the forest is smarter than any enemy. Yes, I am beginning to understand that. Somewhere 3 kilometers to the west. A village. There is the girl Ayla who felt the warmth. And now Chan Minjun is strong enough to start thinking about the next step. Not about strength, about how to truly become part of this world, methodically, as always. Part 4. Avatar. Chapter 10. Body of Earth. The third evolution came 3 weeks after the spirit. Not through battle, through understanding. Chan Minjun lay in the earth and thought about what he had seen in the memory of the old oak. The druid who came before him sat by the roots. Physically. So he had a body, not necessarily human, but a body. The ability to be present in space physically. Mycelium compacts when I direct a lot of resources into one point, he thought. I saw this during the battle with the spirit. The threads at the point of attack became denser, almost solid. If the compaction continues, add organic matter from the soil, bind it through chemical compounds. Something solid can be created. A structure. A structure of mycelium and organic matter is a fungal body. Only large, controlled. Not a cap, a shape that I define. System. The carrier identified the principle of the third evolution before its opening. accelerated activation. Third evolution, superior mind. Mushroom. Rank, D+. Changes. Main body, cap diameter. 40 centimeters, bioluminescence fully controllable, can be fully concealed. Mycelium radius 150 meters, growth speed high. Skill unlocked. Mycelial avatar. The carrier can create a physical body from compacted mycelium and organic soil materials. First version. Size 40 centimeters, fragile, slow. Requires constant connection to the main mycelium. Cannot move farther than 20 meters from the edge of the mycelial network. Skill expanded. Fungal whisper. Can now transmit complex images and limited concepts. Not language, but close to it. Skill unlocked. Desecration analysis. The carrier has studied the structure of magical desecration sufficiently to identify its source and type upon contact. Skill unlocked. Forest barrier. The carrier can create within the mycelium radius a zone of hyperactive life. Temporary, energy-consuming, significantly slows the spread of desecration or hostile magic. Until 4th evolution, 0/1500. Destroy enemies or fulfill the system's special condition. 1500, noted Chan Minjin. A large jump. But first, the avatar. Creating the avatar took 2 days, not because it was technically difficult, because Chan Minjin did it slowly, with full attention. The first physical body after death. Even if made of mycelium and soil, it still mattered. He started with legs. 2 pillars of compacted mycelium, bound with organic polymers he synthesized himself. Solid, flexible, able to bear weight. Then the torso. Not humanoid right away, cylindrical, stable. Arms. Thin, threads of mycelium gathered into bundles. Each finger made of 7 threads twisted together. The head. He thought about this part the longest. I need to perceive the world through the avatar when it moves. Sight? Fungi have no eyes. But chemical perception. If the surface of the head is made sensitive to chemical molecules in the air, that is an analog of smell and taste simultaneously, plus vibrational perception through the legs that touch the ground. This is not sight, but enough to navigate. The avatar stood up on the second day, early in the morning, 40 centimeters. Dark brown, almost black, the color of damp forest earth. The head rounded, without facial features in the human sense, but bioluminescence shone through from within in a faint blue. Arms long relative to the body, fingers thin. This is me, thought Chan Minjun, transferring the center of consciousness into the avatar. This is strange. The first step was clumsy, the legs worked, coordination was there. But the body was unfamiliar. Chan Minjun had been a human all his life, then a mushroom without a body, and now, a creature of 40 centimeters made of earth and mycelium. Methodically. 1 step. Second. The second step was better. The third, almost normal. By the 10th, the avatar was walking. Slowly, carefully, but walking. It came out from under the leaf cover where the main cap grew. Stood on forest ground under open sky. The forest was perceived differently through the avatar. Not from below as through the mycelium, not from all sides, but directly. A height of 40 centimeters is the world of grasses, roots, the lower tier of the forest. Everything enormous, trees stretched upward like towers. Beautiful, thought Chan Minjin. The first thought after 2 months in the earth, that it was simply beautiful. Chapter 11, Ayla. She came the next day. The mycelium felt her from 100 meters. Light steps, a familiar chemical trace. Ayla. Alone, without her father. Alone, noted Chan Minjin. A child alone in the forest. Not dangerous. I know every creature within 150 meters. Nothing threatening nearby. But she doesn't know what is safe. Ayla walked confidently. Not lost. Purposefully. Straight toward the place where his cap grew. She remembered the spot, realized Chan Minjin. Came on purpose. He prepared the avatar, hid it behind a tree root in the shadow, turned off the bioluminescence, waited. Ayla came out onto a small clearing, looked around, found the cap, sat down beside it, looked. "Hello," she said quietly. "You're still here." Fungal whisper, thought Chan Minjin. Images. What to send her? He sent through the cap upon touch. An image, not words. A picture, forest, warmth, presence. Yes, here. Ayla shuddered, not frightened, surprised. Lifted her palm from the cap, looked at it, then placed it back. "You're responding," she whispered. "Yes," he sent the image. "You're not just a mushroom. Correct?" She was silent for a long time, processing. A 10-year-old child talking to a mushroom through touches. She should have been frightened. She wasn't. "Are you kind?" she asked. Image, warmth, protection, the forest alive. "So you're kind," she decided for herself. Said it confidently, like a fact. Chan Minjun thought for a second, then activated the avatar. The small figure came out from behind the root, slowly, not fast, so as not to frighten. Bioluminescence inside the head turned on quietly, blue light from within. Ayla saw it, froze, looked at the 40-centimeter creature that had come out of the shadow and stood before her. A long silence. Then Ayla said, "You're small?" "Yes," Chan Minjin agreed. Through the whisper in the avatar. Image. "I am only beginning. Are you growing?" Image. "Growth. Time. Bigger in the future." "I see," said Ayla. "What is your name?" "A name," thought Chan Minjin. Before rebirth, Chan Minjin. Here I have no name. The system gave none. First time anyone has asked. What to call myself in this world, he thought. Through the whisper, he sent an image of the forest, mycelium, network. An image of a mushroom that feels everything. An image of the memory of trees. Ayla watched the images. He could feel that she perceived them, not as words, but as something. "Mitzel," she said uncertainly. "Can I call you that?" Image. Acceptance. "Yes, Mitzel," she repeated. Nodded. "My name is Ayla. You probably already know." "Yes," she laughed, briefly, in surprise. "You heard my dad calling me. You've been sitting here the whole time and listening." Image, yes, and an apology. Wasn't eavesdropping on purpose. Just the forest. "It's fine," she said. Paused. Mitzel. "Today in the morning people appeared in our village, in black cloaks." Her voice changed, became quieter, more serious. "Papa said I should stay home. I didn't listen." "Black cloaks," noted Chan Minjin. "That is bad. Systemically bad." "They are asking about the forest," Ayla continued. "About an old druid that everyone forgot long ago. And about," she paused, "about something that happened in the north of the forest 3 days ago." 3 days ago, understood Chan Minjin. The battle with the desecrated spirit. The desecration zone. They felt it. The system came quietly. Informational. Threat detected. Black Inquisition of the Academy of Equilibrium. An organization that destroyed all known forest druids 100 years ago. Specialization. Search and elimination of nature magic. Rank of the group's commander. Unknown. Progress for confrontation. Classified until meeting. They destroyed all the forest druids. Read Chan Minjin. All of them. 100 years ago. Why? Unknown for now. But they are here. In the village where Ayla lives. He sent Ayla an image. Clear, direct. Not frightening, but serious. "Don't tell them about me. Anyone. This is important." Ayla looked at the image, nodded slowly. "I understand," she said. "Are they bad?" Image. "Dangerous. For the forest. For me. Possibly for you." "So they're bad," she decided again with that same childlike directness. Stood up. "I'll come back tomorrow. I'll tell you what I find out." Image. Caution. "Please." "Okay," she said. "Bye, Mitzel." She left into the forest quickly, along the familiar path. Chan Minjin, Mitzel, stood as the avatar in the grass and watched her go. "Mitzel," he repeated mentally. "Fine. Let it be Mitzel. The girl who wasn't frightened, who gave me a name." Who will go back to the village where the black cloaks are standing and bring information? A child helping a mushroom against the Inquisition. This is absurd. And still right. Chapter 12. The Memory of the Oak. While Ayla was walking back to the village, Mitzel reached toward the old oak. Forest memory. You remember the Druid who was here 120 years ago? Tell me more. The oak responded slowly. Trees don't hurry. Time is different for them. The images came in chemical waves, not visual, but Mitzel had learned to read them like text. The Druid, his name was Aaron, came young, smaller than you at first, a small sprout. Grew here over 20 years, spoke with us often, taught the forest to protect itself. Then people in black came, many. Aaron knew they would come. He didn't run. He did something before they found him, hid something. I don't know what. But the earth in that place is still different. Warmer. More alive. Where is that place? Mitzel sent. The oak hesitated. For a long time. 80 meters to the northeast. At 3 stones. I haven't gone there in a long time. The roots are afraid. Why afraid? Because there is very much there. Too much life in one point. Like a small sun in the earth. Too much life in one point, Mitzel repeated. Aaron hid something. Something very alive. Concentrated. System. Forest memory has detected an artifact of the previous forest druid. Classification. Memory seed. Contains the knowledge and power of the previous system carrier. Available to the current carrier upon direct contact. Warning. The Black Inquisition is also searching for this artifact. Possibly that is why they are here. They are looking for what Aaron hid, understood Mitzel. Have been searching for 100 years. Found a trail recently, possibly through the battle with the spirit, which made the natural magic in this forest noticeable again. 80 meters to the northeast. 3 stones. The mycelium is already almost in that direction. 20 more meters of growth. Begin growth immediately. Chapter 13. The Inquisition. Ayla came back the next morning earlier than usual. She ran, breathing rapid, a chemical trace of stress. Mitzel sensed her from 200 meters and already knew something had happened. The avatar came out to meet her from behind the roots where it stood ready. Ayla crouched beside it. Not at the cap today, directly in front of the avatar. There are 5 of them, she said quickly. The commander is tall in a cloak with a silver border. All the others obey him immediately. A pause. They were asking the village elder about natural magic in the forest. The elder said he knows nothing. They didn't believe him. Her voice dropped lower. They did something to the well in the center of the village. The water changed color. Papa said it's a magical marker. Now anyone who has touched natural magic will glow when checked. A marker in the water, thought Mitzel. A chemical tracer. Enters the body through drinking, reacts with natural magic during special scanning. Clever. Did Ayla drink water this morning? He sent an image. A question. Water. Did you drink? No, she said. I saw what they were doing. I didn't drink. I took from the river. Smart girl. But everyone else in the village drank, said Ayla. They will all glow when checked. No, thought Mitzel. The marker reacts with natural magic. The villagers are ordinary people. Without natural magic, they won't glow. But if someone in the village touched something I made, touched the cap, received a chemical signal through the whisper, Ayla touched it. Received the whisper through touch. Is that natural magic in her body? Or just a chemical signal? System. Answer. System. Fungal. Whisper leaves micro traces of natural energy at the point of contact. In a living creature, they dissolve within 48 hours. Ayla touched the cap yesterday. Less than 48 hours have passed. Traces still present. The Inquisition's marker may react. The marker may react, understood Mitzel. Ayla didn't drink from the well. But she could have drunk from any other source in the village. If the marker entered her another way, through food, through other water. He sent Ayla an image. Serious, direct. Did you eat anything this morning? From the village? No, she said. Papa gave me bread that Mama baked yesterday. Water from the river. A pause. Mitzel, what's wrong? Image. Everything is fine for now. But for another 2 days, don't drink water from the village. Ayla understood, not the words, she understood the meaning. They could find me through this, she said. Not a question. Yes. Because of you. Yes. Sorry. She thought for a second, then shrugged. A childlike gesture that meant, so what, doesn't matter. Then help the village, she said simply. Since I'm at risk because of you, you help? Image. How? They're heading into the forest this morning. The commander said the traces of natural magic are to the north. A pause. They're heading exactly there. The 3 stones. Mitzel understood immediately. They know about Aaron's artifact. Or they sense where the concentration of natural magic is highest. The mycelium hasn't reached the 3 stones yet. 7 meters left. At accelerated growth. An hour. Maybe an hour and a half. And they set out in the morning. Already left. System. Critical situation. If the Inquisition reaches Aaron's artifact before the carrier, the artifact will be destroyed. Loss of the previous Druid's knowledge and power. Recommendation. Accelerated mycelium growth immediately. Accelerated growth again. The cap will shrink again. Doesn't matter. Mitzel, said Ayla, can I help? Image. Dangerous. No. I run fast, she said. I know the forest better than them. They're not local. No. Mitzel, she looked directly at the avatar, as directly as one can look at a creature without a face. You said they're dangerous for the forest. I've lived next to this forest my whole life. A pause. This is my forest, too. A long silence. She's right, thought Mitzel. This is her forest. I arrived 2 months ago. She was born beside it. But she's a child. The Inquisition. And yet, what can I do? Stop her? I'm a mushroom, an avatar of 40 centimeters. I can't stop her if she's made up her mind. He sent an image. Not permission, not a ban. A condition. If you go, only watch. Don't approach them. See what they're doing. Come back and tell me. Only that. Ayla nodded. Only watch, she repeated aloud. I promise. She left quickly in the direction of the northeast, toward the 3 stones. Mitzel remained. Directed all resources into mycelium growth in the same direction. Accelerated growth. Again. The cap began to shrink. 8 centimeters. 7. Doesn't matter. Chapter 14. 3 stones. The mycelium reached the 3 stones in 40 minutes, faster than Mitzel expected. The soil in that direction turned out to be especially rich. Alive. The oak was right. The earth at the 3 stones was different. Warm. Saturated with life in such concentration that the mycelium upon first contact felt something like a blow. Not pain, an excess of information. Too much life in one point. The memory seed was there. Not a physical object. A concentrated node of natural energy fused into the soil. 100 years had passed and it had only become more saturated. Touch it, thought Mitzel. System. Contact with the memory seed. An irreversible process of absorption. Will take time. During absorption, the carrier is vulnerable. Recommendation: ensure the safety of the perimeter before beginning. Safety of the perimeter, Mitzel repeated. The Inquisition is heading here. Ayla is heading here. Through the mycelium, perception. 5 people were coming from the west, slowly, reading the traces of natural magic through an artifact that resembled a compass. The commander in front, 4 behind. Distance, 300 meters. About 20 minutes of walking through the undergrowth. Ayla was moving faster. 150 meters. 5 minutes. Ayla will arrive first. The Inquisition, in 20 minutes. How long does absorbing the seed take? System. Minimum 30 minutes. Optimally, an hour. 30 minutes with an active threat, 20 minutes away, Mitzel calculated. Not enough time. So don't absorb it now. First stop the Inquisition, then the seed. How to stop 5 people with magical artifacts when I'm a mushroom. Avatar, 40 centimeters. Not combat. Mycelium, 150 meters. Combat? To some degree. The Inquisition is walking through my forest, through my territory. mycelium under every step they take. What can I do through the mycelium? Chemical synthesis, directed release of substances through the soil. What to release under the feet of 5 mages of unknown rank? Not a neurotoxin. They're mages. They have protection. A direct poison won't work. But there is something else. The forest is smarter than any enemy, Aaron said. The forest. What does the forest do when it senses a threat? Signaling molecules. The forest warns itself about predators, and sometimes drives them away. A concentrated stress signal released by trees under attack is unpleasant enough for the nervous system of many creatures. For people, not lethal. But discomfort, disorientation, a desire to leave this place. Is that enough for Inquisition mages? Not enough for experienced ones. Enough for a delay. A delay is all that's needed. Ayla appeared at the clearing by the 3 stones. The avatar came out from behind the stones, small, glowing faintly. Ayla saw him. Ran over quietly, crouching. "They're coming," she whispered. The commander. He feels something. He has an artifact that pulses stronger than a regular compass. He made it himself. A pause. "Mitzel, he's strong. I saw how he walked." Trees near him glowed slightly. His aura presses on the forest. His aura presses on the forest, Mitzel repeated. A mage who suppresses natural magic. This is a specialization. He is a hunter of druids, specifically as a type of creature. Bad. I won't fool him with disorienting substances. He's too perceptive. He sent Ayla an image, direct, urgent. "Leave now, in the opposite direction from them. Don't run. Walk steadily. Don't look back." "And you?" she whispered. "Image. I'm staying. This is my forest." "Mitzel. Image. Go. Please." Ayla looked at him for a second, then nodded. Stood up. Went in the direction of the village at a normal pace, not fast, steady, disappeared behind the trees. Mitzel remained alone at the 3 stones. The 5 inquisitors, 200 meters, 15 minutes. The forest is smarter than any enemy, thought Mitzel. I'll ask it how to win. He reached toward the old oak through the mycelium, through the voice, through the chemical channel, Aaron. When the Inquisition came for him, what did he do before they found him? The oak was silent for a long time. Then an image came. Not words, a chemical picture, an event, 100 years ago. Aaron didn't hide. Aaron let them find him, went to meet them, spoke with the commander for a long time, an hour or more. Then they took him. But while he was speaking, he was doing something with the earth around him, unnoticed. Slowly, the mycelium went deep. He was hiding the seed while he talked, understood Mitzel, holding their attention on himself. While working, they took him. But the seed was already hidden. For 100 years it waited. Aaron sacrificed himself to hide the knowledge. I'm not ready to sacrifice myself. I still have evolving to do. But the principle is correct. Hold their attention on one thing while doing another. What to hold their attention on? Mitzel looked at the avatar. Small, 40 centimeters. Glowing blue. They are looking for a druid, a source of natural magic. I am a source of natural magic. Small, fragile, but real. If I come out, they will occupy themselves with me. While they are occupied with me, the seed remains. Risk. They will destroy the avatar. Consequence. An avatar of mycelium and soil is destructible. This is not me. I am the entire mycelial network. Destroying the avatar is like destroying one finger. A loss, but not death. Strategy. Go out to them with the avatar. Give them something to study. Occupy them for about 30 minutes. During that time, absorb the seed through the main mycelium while they are busy. Will this work? System. Assessment. 67% probability of success. Primary risk. The Inquisition commander may sense the absorption of the seed even while distracted. To reduce risk, absorb slowly, unnoticeably. 67%, noted Mitzel. In gambling, bad odds. For a creature that 2 months ago was nothing. Not bad. Let's do it. Chapter 15. The Inquisition commander. They came out onto the clearing 12 minutes later, 5 of them. Black cloaks. the commander with a silver border. Tall, Ayla hadn't exaggerated. About 40, face sharp, focused. In his hand, not an artifact compass, an open palm. He himself was the artifact. Mitzel felt through the mycelium under his feet how something pressing emanated from him. Not desecration, suppression, an anti-natural aura. The commander stopped at the edge of the clearing, looked, saw the avatar. A long pause. The four behind tensed. Hands on weapons. The commander raised his hand. Stop. He looked at the small glowing figure by the 3 stones. This, he said slowly, is interesting. Voice? Calm. Professional. A man who had seen much that was strange and was not surprised. A forest druid, he said. Not a question. Small. Young. Mitzel didn't respond. Through the avatar, he couldn't give a response. The whisper only worked on contact. The commander stepped closer. One more step. Crouched. Lowered himself to one knee to look at the avatar's level. So the seed worked, he said quietly. Aaron created a new carrier, 100 years ago. Clever old man. He knows, understood Mitzel. Knows about the seed, knows about the system, so they have information about forest druids from the inside. From where? You can't speak, said the commander. He looked at the avatar attentively. Do you hear me? The avatar didn't react. Mitzel held it motionless. I'm silent for now. Listening. Gathering information. And simultaneously, the main mycelium 5 meters from here begins carefully touching the seed. Slowly. Very slowly. The commander stood. Walked around the avatar, studying it. His anti-natural aura pressed. Mitzel felt how the mycelium under his feet reacted, retreated slightly from direct contact. We are misunderstood, said the commander unexpectedly. The Inquisition. They think we destroy natural magic out of fear or greed. An image from the oak's memory. Aaron being led away, sacrificed himself. That is not so, the commander continued. He sat on one of the 3 stones. We destroy forest druids because every time, without exception, they go out of control. The forest druid system has no limit. There is no point where it stops. It continues to grow until the carrier becomes larger than the forest, larger than a country, larger than everything. I'm listening, thought Mitzel. This is important. Simultaneously, the mycelium at the seed, first careful contact. The tip of a thread touches the concentrated note of life. Warmth, Mitzel, even through the distance, felt it. Enormous warmth. Aaron's memory. Slowly, unnoticeably. The last forest druid. We didn't manage to stop in time, said the commander. Absorbed 5 forests. Then began absorbing fields. Then villages. Not intentionally. Just growth. Instinct. The system. A pause. 3,000 people died while we were stopping him. 3,000 people. Mitzel paused the absorption of the seed for a second. Is this true? System. Answer. System. The commander's information is partially correct. Forest Druid Vein, 200 years ago, rank SS. Lost control over the evolution instincts, began absorbing life force indiscriminately. Deaths. 2,847 people. Correct. However, Vein reached SS rank because the system had no limitations at that time. The system was revised after the Vein event. The current system of Carrier Mitzel has built-in limitations and filters. Absorption of the life force of sentient beings is blocked at the system level. The Inquisition commander is unaware of the system's changes. The system was changed, understood Mitzel. After the Vein catastrophe, Aaron changed the system, or someone changed it. Built-in limitations. Absorption of sentient beings, blocked. Aaron knew that the Inquisition was right about the old system and created a new, safe one. Then hid the seed with this new system. That is why he didn't run. That is why he let them take him. He knew he would be stopped, but he knew the seed would find the right carrier, with the right limitations, and it waited 100 years. The mycelium at the seed began careful absorption again. You hear me, said the commander. Not a question, a statement. You understand what I'm saying? You're not an ordinary young undead. A pause. Aaron was the same. Rational from the first day. He also listened and thought. A long silence. That is precisely why he was more dangerous than the others. He thinks rationality makes me more dangerous, thought Mitzel. From the Inquisition's perspective, logical. An irrational druid acts instinctively, predictably. A rational one can plan, hide, evolve unnoticed. Which is exactly what I'm doing right now. The commander stood, looked at his men, nodded. One of the four began setting up something at the edge of the clearing. An artifact, a crystal on a stand, it began to glow. This is not a compass, understood Mitzel through the mycelium under it. This is something different. The crystal releases waves into the soil. Anti-natural waves. This is a suppressor. If it fully activates, the mycelium within range. System. Warning. Nature suppressor artifact. Rank B. Upon full activation. Blocks natural magic within a 50-meter radius. Mycelium in the zone temporarily deactivated. Absorption of the seed will be interrupted. Time until activation, 4 minutes. 4 minutes, read Mitzel. Absorption of the seed has been going for 3 minutes already. 15% received. Not enough. If the suppressor activates, I lose connection with the seed. They will take it. Need to stop the suppressor. How? The artifact stands on the ground. On my mycelium. I feel it through the soil. Crystal, metal stand, magical circuit inside. The magical circuit? I don't understand it. No time. But the physical construction, I understand. Metal stand, metal conducts. If an electrochemical reaction is created in the soil under the stand, through the mycelium through synthesis, a sufficient potential will damage the artifact circuit. Electrochemistry, galvanic cell. 2 metals in an electrolyte. Soil, electrolyte. If the right ions are introduced into it. 3 minutes until activation. Mitzel split his attention. One part continues absorbing the seed. Slowly. The second, synthesis of an electrolytic solution in the soil directly under the artifact's stand. This was simultaneous. Parallel processing that he had mastered over 2 months of existence in the network. 1 minute. Electrolyte ready. Ion concentration high. Mycelium under the metal created a closed circuit. The discharge. Not lightning, not a flash. Just a quiet electrochemical potential directed into the artifact's circuit through the metal legs of the stand. The crystal flickered. The glow became uneven. One of the Inquisitors noticed. Walked over, checked. Commander, the artifact is unstable. The commander turned. Walked over, looked at the crystal. Soil moisture, said one of his men. Could have damaged the circuit. Restart it, said the commander. The restart will take another 3 minutes, calculated Mitzel. 6 minutes total. Plus the 3 that have already passed. 9 minutes of absorption. If I don't disrupt the restart, the activation question remains. I'll disrupt it again. And again, until the seed is absorbed. The commander looked at the artifact, then slowly raised his head, looked at the avatar. A long pause. You did this, he said quietly. He understood, noted Mitzel. Quickly. Clever, said the commander, without anger, with something resembling respect, which clearly irritated him. Very clever for a creature that has existed how long? A few months? The avatar didn't respond. Aaron was also clever, said the commander more quietly. That is precisely why I'm sorry. He raised his hand to his men. A gesture, surround. The 4 began spreading out along the perimeter of the clearing. They're surrounding the avatar, understood Mitzel. If they take the avatar, can they through it reach the main mycelium? The seed? System. The avatar is a peripheral organ. Its capture does not provide access to the main network. However, the commander is strong enough to conduct a reverse trace through the avatar to the main cap. Recommendation: disconnect the avatar from the network before capture. Disconnect the avatar. That means abandon it. It will become just a clump of earth and mycelium. Not dangerous to me, dangerous to concealment. They will understand I am smarter than I appear. They already understood. Then I disconnect. Mitzel pulled his consciousness from the avatar, back into the main network. The avatar froze, stopped being alive, became what it physically was, a small figure of dark earth and dry mycelium. One of the Inquisitors grabbed the avatar. It crumbled in his hands. Just earth. He's gone, said the Inquisitor. The commander looked at the handful of earth, then at the clearing, then closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, there was that expression in them that appears in experienced hunters when the prey has turned out to be more interesting than expected. Mycelial network, he said quietly. He's everywhere under us. A pause. Smart enough to understand that the avatar is a distraction. Another pause. And while we are here, doing something else. He looked at the 3 stones. He knows, understood Mitzel. He understood that I'm absorbing the seed. Now he will stop me. The commander stepped toward the 3 stones, and the soil under him shuddered. Not Mitzel. The forest. The roots of a large tree at the edge of the clearing, slowly, powerfully, began rising from the earth. Not quickly, not like an attack. They simply rose, blocked the path to the 3 stones. The commander stopped. Mitzel hadn't done this. He hadn't controlled the roots. The forest did it itself. The old oak 150 meters away sent a signal through the symbiotic network. Not to Mitzel, to other trees, directly to them. In a language that trees had known for millions of years before the appearance of people or fungi. Protect. And the trees protected. The commander looked at the roots that had risen, then at the forest around him, then slowly upward, at the tree crowns that had begun to quietly rustle without wind. The forest, he said quietly. The entire forest is reacting. One of the Inquisitors, young, nervous, stepped back. We need to leave, Commander. No, said the commander calmly. Not yet. He lowered himself to one knee directly before the roots, placed his palm on the ground. The anti-natural aura intensified. Mitzel felt how the mycelium under the commander retreated. The trees near him fell silent. Suppression. But not the whole forest. Only the near circle. Farther, the forest continued to rustle. Listen, said the commander. He spoke into the earth, to the mycelium, to Mitzel. You hear me through the soil. I know. A pause. I am not an enemy of the forest. I am an enemy of uncontrolled force that destroys people. These are different things. You're right that they are different things, thought Mitzel. But you don't know that the system has changed, that Aaron removed the possibility of absorbing sentient beings. If you knew, would you be here? Unknown. Absorption of the seed. 60% received. 40 remaining. The commander on his knees 10 meters away. If he stands and steps toward the 3 stones, the roots won't stop him, he is too strong. I need 10 more minutes. What to occupy the commander with for 10 minutes? Conversation. Mitzel directed spores, not toxic, bioluminescent. Brought them up through the mycelium to the soil surface directly before the commander. A small cloud of blue glowing spores rose from the earth. The commander froze. The spores took shape. Not a perfect one. Mitzel couldn't draw with spores, only basic images. But enough. A number, a simple number. 1, then 0. Then 1, 0, 1, 0. Binary code that no one in this world knew. Except Chan Minjin, who died at 34 without ever leaving his apartment. The commander looked at the spores. You are communicating, he said slowly. The spores changed. A simple image, a tree, then a person, then a line between them. Not enemies, simply 2 different creatures. The commander looked for a long time. You're saying you're not an enemy of people. Spores, one signal. Yes. All druids say that, said the commander. But his voice changed. Just slightly, became less certain. Up to a certain point. Spores, a new image, a barrier, a wall inside, a lock. A limitation is built in, Mitzel was trying to say. I cannot harm sentient beings. Not won't. Cannot. The commander looked for a long time. You're saying you have a limitation, he said quietly. Spores? Yes. Built in? Yes. A long silence. The system? Quietly. Absorption of the memory seed. 95%. 10%. 100%. Aaron's memory seed fully absorbed. Access to the knowledge of the previous carrier opened. Processing will take time. Fourth evolution unlocked. The commander felt something. Looked at the 3 stones. Stood up. He approached them. The roots no longer rose. The forest had sensed the danger had passed. He crouched by the stones. Placed his palm on the ground. A long silence. It's gone, he said quietly. The seed is gone. A pause. Absorbed. He raised his head, looked at the forest around him. You took it while I was talking, he said, without anger. Something else. Exhaustion. Aaron would have done the same. He stood for a long time by the 3 stones. All right, he said at last, quietly. All right, he turned to his men. We're leaving. Commander? The young one was surprised. The seed. Absorbed. A pause. The carrier received what Aaron left. Another pause. Let's see what comes of it. The commander left. Mitzel lay in the earth and waited until the footsteps of the 5 inquisitors became vibration at 200 meters, then 300, then silence. The forest calmed. The oak's roots slowly returned into the soil. The trees stopped rustling without wind. Then the seed came. Not immediately. Not like a flash. Like a slow filling. As if someone very carefully poured something warm into something already warm. Aaron was in no hurry. Even 100 years after death. The first thing that came was not knowledge. A voice. Not a voice in the literal sense. A chemical image so detailed that it was felt as a voice. A man, not young, calm. Speaking the way people speak who are accustomed to talking with trees. Slowly, with pauses, knowing there is no need to hurry. You found this. That means the system chose correctly. I don't know who you are. I don't know from what time. The seed waited. I assumed it would be long. When the Inquisition came for me, I understood that the right carrier was not with me, and would not be. The system doesn't make mistakes in its choice. But sometimes the choice requires time. I hid 3 things. The first, knowledge. Everything I understood over 40 years of existence as a forest druid. You will receive it gradually, not all at once. The system will give it as you are ready. Otherwise, you will drown. The second, a warning. About what I could not resolve. About what killed me. Not physically killed the possibility of acting. Listen carefully. The third, a question. One question that I asked myself for 40 years and found no answer to. Perhaps you will find it. A chemical pause. Like a breath. I'll start with the warning, because it is urgent if the Inquisition is already near. The commander you just met, or the next commander, they change every 20 years, is not just a hunter. He carries within him a reverse artifact, an anti-system. If he touches you directly and activates it, your system won't die. Worse, it will invert. The protection of the forest will become destruction. The limitations will be removed. You will become exactly what the Inquisition fears. They created this after Vayne. Not to kill druids, to prove that druids are dangerous. They made monsters of us, then killed the monsters. I understood this too late. Don't let him touch you. Distance is your protection. Mitzel perceived this and thought, the commander today didn't touch the avatar. He looked, talked, but didn't touch. Did he know about the anti-system and deliberately not use it? Or decided it wasn't worth it? Or he's not that commander? He said, let's see what comes of it, and left. That didn't sound like a hunter who gave up. It sounded like a man who is changing plans. Be careful. Aaron's voice continued, quieter now, like a background under which the first packets of knowledge began to appear. The question I asked for 40 years. Simple. The forest druid system grows. I grew. The forest grew with me. That is true. But the forest is not infinite. There are villages, fields, roads, a border between the forest and the human world. What to do with this border? A druid protects the forest. A person builds a village next to the forest. This is not an attack, but it is a narrowing of the forest. Gradual. How to be a protector of the forest in a world where people also have the right to live? Vane answered this way. People too, into the forest. Absorb everything. He was wrong. I answered this way. Don't touch people, only the pure forest. But then the forest slowly dies from the borders. I didn't find a third answer. Perhaps you will find it. The voice dissolved. The knowledge remained, coming slowly as the system had promised. The first packet. Aaron's knowledge received. Symbiotic covenant. A technique for establishing a long-term connection with a sentient being. Not control, voluntary exchange. The carrier receives additional perception points through the ally. The ally receives heightened sensitivity to natural magic and passive mycelium protection. Symbiotic covenant. Red Mitzel. Voluntary. With a sentient being. With Ayla, she already senses natural magic. The covenant will strengthen this, but she is a child. Her father doesn't know. This is a decision that cannot be made for her. She will decide herself when she returns. System. Fourth evolution available. Activate? Yes. Fourth evolution, Forest Guardian. Rank? C+. Changes. Main body. Cap diameter, 70 centimeters. Bioluminescence. Full color, controllable, can imitate any spectrum. Under the cap, 3 levels of spore chambers with different types of burst. Mycelium. Radius 500 meters. Growth speed high. New property. Mycelium can temporarily compact to the hardness of wood at any point in the network. Avatar. Updated. Size up to 120 centimeters. Durability significantly higher. Autonomous operation time without connection to the main mycelium. Up to 10 minutes. Skill unlocked. Forest voice. The carrier can create sound vibrations through the mycelium and root systems of trees. Transmit sound to any point in the network. Skill unlocked. Forest regeneration. The carrier can accelerate the recovery of damaged forest areas. Accelerated cell division through directed natural energy. Skill unlocked. Symbiotic covenant. Aaron's knowledge integrated. Skill expanded. Chemical synthesis advanced. The carrier now understands the basic structure of magical compounds sufficiently to create neutralizers for most known magical poisons and desecrations. Until 5th evolution, 0/4,000. 500 meters of mycelium, Mitzel perceived. That is half the distance to the village. Avatar. 120 centimeters. That is no longer small. That is almost the height of a human child. Forest voice. Sound through mycelium. I can speak, not in images, in sound, in words. He tried immediately. Directed vibration through the mycelium to the surface. Found a point where the mycelium came close to the surface at the roots of a familiar tree. Sound came out. Quiet, slightly hoarse. Mycelium is not a perfect resonator, but words. Real words in the language of this world that Mitzel had absorbed over months of listening through the soil. Good, he said into nowhere. The first spoken word. Quiet in an empty forest. Mitzel waited a second, for some reason expecting this to be more solemn. The forest was silent, a bird somewhere in the distance. All right, he added. That also didn't change anything in particular. Practical, he decided. That is exactly how it should be. She came in the evening, running, breathing rapid. Mitzel sensed her from 400 meters, almost from the edge of the updated network. Running, not walking, chemical trace, anxiety. The new avatar, 120 centimeters, came out to meet her onto the path. Stood under a tree. Ayla flew around the bend, saw him, stopped so sharply she almost fell, stared. You've grown, she exhaled. A little, said Mitzel. Ayla froze completely, stared. You. Speak? Now, yes, in words. In words. A long pause. Ayla processed. Then decided something for herself and switched instantly. The way only children can. They left the village, she said quickly. The commander. He came back before the others. Talked to the elder briefly. Said there was no threat and they were leaving in the morning. They've already left. A pause. But Papa said one stayed behind. Not in the village, in the forest, watching. One stayed, noted Mitzel. An observer. The commander left but left a watcher. He wants to see what I'll do. Where exactly in the forest? Mitzel asked. I don't know. Papa said he felt it. Papa sometimes senses such people. A hunter, he says. Old one. Sensed it. Ayla's father also has sensitivity, a family thing. Ayla, said Mitzel. Your father, does he know the forest? Not as a woodcutter, differently. Ayla was silent for a second. Grandfather was a forester, she said. Papa says grandfather talked to the trees. Not really, but he felt them. A pause. Papa does too, a little. But he doesn't like to talk about it. 3 generations with sensitivity to natural magic. This is not coincidence. This is a lineage. Possibly weak hereditary transmission of an ability that was once a full-fledged gift. Symbiotic covenant. Aaron's knowledge said, with a sentient being, voluntarily. Is it right to ask Ayla now? She is a child. Does the father need to be involved? Ayla, said Mitzel, I want to offer you something. But first you need to decide yourself, and possibly talk to your father. Ayla looked at him attentively, seriously, the face of a child who knows how to be serious. Tell me, she said. I can create a connection between you and the forest, said Mitzel. Not magic, a covenant. You will feel the forest better. You will hear the trees faintly. I will always know where you are if you are within the network radius. You will be safe here. A pause. In return, you will hear if I need help with something I cannot do myself. Eyes in the village. Information, Ayla thought. Is it forever? She asked. It can be broken, said Mitzel. If you want. Is it dangerous? No, it's like friendship, only through the earth. Ayla thought more. Then, I'll tell Papa, she decided. Tomorrow. If he agrees, yes. The right decision, thought Mitzel. Not impulsive. Talk it over first. Good that she thinks that way. Good, he said. Mitzel, Ayla added. The one watching in the forest? Do you sense him? Looking, said Mitzel. Find him before dark, she said seriously. At night, they're more dangerous. Papa says so. She turned and went back to the village, confidently, from memory, without looking back. Mitzel watched her go. A 10-year-old child telling a mushroom what to do, he noted. This is normal. We look for the observer. Finding him through the mycelium turned out to not be simple. Mitzel swept through 500 meters of the network methodically, the vibration of every creature larger than a squirrel. Squirrels? Don't count. Hares? No. A fox to the southwest? No. 20 minutes later, found him. Northeast? 180 meters from the main cap. Weight, roughly that of a light, trained adult. Barely moving. Sitting on a branch of a tree, the mycelium barely catches the vibration. Very quiet. A professional, assessed Mitzel. Doesn't move because he knows that movement is vibration. He knows that a forest druid senses through the soil. So he knows about the mycelium. So he's trained specifically for my type. The problem, he's in a tree. Mycelium works in the soil and roots. Reaching the branch where he sits through the tree's roots is possible, but weakly. A chemical release, upward along the trunk, through the bark, into the air near the branch, will lose concentration. Not enough for any real effect. Make him come down to the ground, thought Mitzel. How? The tree he is sitting on. I feel it through the roots. The tree feels the weight on the branch. If through the forest voice I send the tree a signal, the tree can drop the branch. No, that is using the tree as a weapon. The branch will fall with the person, could kill him. The observer is not an enemy of the forest yet. He's just sitting, watching. Killing him for watching is wrong. He needs to leave. Voluntarily, Mitzel thought. What makes a person voluntarily leave the forest at night? Fear or discomfort. or the feeling that this place is not what he expected to find. The observer was waiting. Mitzel understood this through the forest memory. The old tree the man was sitting on remembered. This person had been here before, 3 years ago, when that darkness passed through the forest. 3 years ago, he came when the desecrated spirit was here. Mitzel connected. The Inquisition tracks desecration. He is a tracker who follows major natural events. He is waiting for an event. Waiting for me to do something major. So, don't do anything major while he's here. Then why drive him away? Let him sit. Wait. He won't wait for anything. No. Ayla is right. More dangerous at night. Not because it's dark, because at night the Inquisitors use artifacts that are too conspicuous in daylight. Night scanners. If he scans the forest with a night artifact, he'll find the main cap. Coordinates. That cannot be allowed. Mitzel stopped thinking about how to drive the observer away. Started thinking about how to conceal the cap. Bioluminescence. Off. Chemical trace. Minimize. If the mycelium is lowered a little deeper into the soil, the signature will weaken. And most importantly, if within the range of the night scanner there is a lot of natural noise, the signature of the main body will be drowned in it. The forest is full of natural magic. Trees, fungi, mosses, roots. All of this is background noise. If I ask the forest through the symbiotic network to amplify the background natural activity right now, it will create interference, like a jammer. He sent a signal through the network to trees, mosses, everything living within 300 meters. Not a powerful signal, quiet. Accelerate ordinary processes. A little more root respiration, a little more spore activity from fungi in the soil, a little more chemical signals. The background noise of natural magic in the forest grew, not sharply, gradually, like a hum rises when a market wakes up. Half an hour later, the observer on the branch moved. Took out something, an artifact. Mitzel felt it as a light pressure on the natural background. A night scanner. He activated it. A pause. A long one. Then he put the artifact away. Said something quietly to himself. The forest voice through the tree carried a fragment. Interference. Nothing clean. Another pause. Then he jumped from the branch. Landed on the mycelium. Mitzel felt the weight. Light. Trained. Stood for a second. Started walking toward the village. Mitzel followed him with sensation through the network all the way to the edge. 300 meters, 400, 500. He went beyond the range of perception. He left, noted Mitzel. The interference worked. System. Enemy eliminated without direct confrontation. Non-standard method. Ecological interference. Progress. Plus 60. Total progress. 60 out of 4,000. 60 out of 4,000, read Mitzel. A long road. That's fine, we'll manage. He came the next morning, alone, without Ayla. Tall, broad-shouldered, hands like a man who does a lot of physical work. About 35. He walked through the forest calmly, familiarly, the way people walk who have spent a lot of time in forests. Mitzel sensed him from 300 meters, and what Ayla had described as her father's sensitivity. The man walked, and the trees reacted slightly differently than to an ordinary person. Not strongly, but they heard him. A weak forest voice, Mitzel determined, not a gift. An inherited echo of a gift. Enough for the forest to hear him just a little. Not enough for him to hear the forest. The man stopped at the 3 stones. Empty now, the seed was gone. Looked around, saw the avatar, which stood openly. Mitzel had decided not to hide. A long silence. Ayla told me, said the man at last. Voice. Steady, without fear. Evaluating. Yes, said Mitzel. You are a forest druid. Trying to be. The man looked at the avatar. 120 centimeters, dark, without facial features, a faint blue glow. You want to create a connection with my daughter, he said. I offered it to her. She said she would ask you. Why does she need it? A direct question. Good. A direct answer. Ayla already feels natural magic, said Mitzel. It's there in her. Weakly, but it's there. The connection will strengthen it. she will hear the forest better. And while she is within range of my network, she is safe. I will know if she is in danger. And what will you take in return? Information about the village sometimes. Through her, eyes where I cannot see. This is a fair exchange. The man was silent for a long time. The Inquisition yesterday, he said. They were looking for you. Yes. Did they find you? They saw me. They left. Why did they leave? Honestly or diplomatically? Honestly. The commander decided to wait and see, said Mitzel. I don't know why. Possibly because I don't behave like the Druids he hunted before. Are you dangerous to the village? A pause. I am dangerous to enemies of the forest, said Mitzel. A village next to the forest is not an enemy. People who live here are not enemies. Those who would come to burn the forest are enemies. A pause. That is the difference. The man looked at him. What should I call you? Mitzel. Mitzel. He repeated it, trying the word. Ayla says you look like a mushroom. I am a mushroom. Something in the man's face. Not a smile, he was too serious for that. But softened slightly. My father, he said, used to say that something old lived in this forest. Kind. He asked us not to cut trees here without need. A pause. I thought it was just old age and superstition. Perhaps he felt the seed, said Mitzel. It was here, before me. The man nodded slowly. I am Thorn, he said. A builder and forester when needed. I know. Ayla mentioned it. She mentioned a lot? Everything she knew. Thorn looked to the side for a few seconds, toward where the village showed through between the trees. The connection, he said. It can be broken. Yes. If something goes wrong, I'll break it. Myself. You don't know how to work with natural magic directly, said Mitzel, but if you ask me, I'll break it immediately. Ask a mushroom to break a magical connection with my daughter, Thorn repeated. Slowly. That is a strange phrase. Yes. More silence. All right, said Thorn. The same word the commander had said. Mitzel was beginning to think that this word in this world meant, I don't fully agree, but there isn't much choice. Tomorrow, I'll bring Ayla. Thorn looked at the avatar one last time. One question. Yes. You remember being human? A pause. I remember. Then you understand what it means to have a child. I didn't have one, Mitzel could have said. Lived alone in 37 square meters and died without ever going out. But Thorn wasn't asking about that. He was asking, do you understand that she matters? I understand, said Mitzel. Thorn nodded, turned, walked back. Mitzel watched him go, a father who came himself. Didn't forbid it, didn't run. Came, asked, evaluated, decided. Good people, he thought simply. The forest chose a good place. The symbiotic covenant with Ayla took place the next day. Thorn stood nearby in silence, arms folded, watching. Ayla sat on the grass before the avatar, palms on the earth where the mycelium came close to the surface. Will it hurt? She asked. No, said Mitzel. It will be warm, like that first time when I touched it. Stronger. Good, said Ayla. Go ahead. Mitzel directed a thin stream of natural energy through the mycelium, through the point of contact with Ayla's palms. Slowly. Not pouring. Offering. The covenant required that both agree. Compulsion broke it immediately. Ayla tensed for a second. Then exhaled. It's warm, she said quietly, like the earth is breathing. She felt it. Mitzel perceived through the connection that was establishing. Weakly, but clearly. Her natural sensitivity responded quickly. Through the connection, the first response from Ayla. Not words, an emotion. Surprise. Joy. And something deeper. Recognition, as if she had met something long familiar. Her gift remembers what this is, thought Mitzel. Through several generations. It still remembers. The covenant established a thin thread between Ayla and the mycelial network. Mitzel felt where she was. A point of warm light in the network. Alive, mobile, completely different from the trees or animals. Human. Wow, said Ayla. Mitzel, I can hear a tree. Which one? That big one. The oak. It's old. Very old, said Mitzel. It's saying something. Not in words, like calmness. Long calmness. The oak is greeting her, understood Mitzel, in its own way, through hundreds of years of calmness. Thorn stood quietly, looked at his daughter, then slowly lowered himself to one knee, placed his palm on the ground beside her. He said nothing, simply felt. Through the earth, weakly, almost nothing, but something. Papa, said Ayla, do you hear it? No, said Thorn, but strange voice. No, but I feel that you can hear it. He stood, looked at the avatar. Keep her safe, he said simply. Yes, said Mitzel,